Hello, John.
Hello, Oliver.
We're going to talk about Leo Varadkar and Brexit.
Yes, now Brexit has been looming and has got a lot of media attention in the past 2 years or whatever it is, when the people in Britain voted by a large majority, millions, no matter what the media says, to leave the EU. They found that it was affecting their quality of life and their job prospects and all the rest of it, and interfering with their laws, etc. And planting people on top of them that they weren't able to cope with because of the fact that they have a generous social welfare system like what we have, which is why we have a lot of them. But Brexit has been dominating the situation, the political situation. Mrs. May was the Prime Minister charged with delivering on that, but because she had the stupidity to go for an election which she didn't need to go, and wound up with a loss of many seats and given a lifeline to the Labour Party, and depending on the Democratic Unionist Party, the DUP in Northern Ireland, to survive and form a government, she left herself wide open, and instead of having a mandate, she had no mandate. So people in the EU are not stupid, so they could see that they could dictate, and which they did. So she was running backwards and forwards, and without the sort of the sort of know-how to actually get a deal. And then whatever kind of a deal she got, it wasn't really satisfactory, and so it wasn't accepted by the British Parliament, because they suddenly, because of our weakened position, they managed to get control of any agreement that she might make. So, like, she was hamstrung. Now, so she's gone, and pity she didn't go a lot sooner, but in any event, Boris Johnson is the Prime Minister, and he has, I suppose, a hostile press, except for the Telegraph newspaper, maybe one or two more. She certainly has the media against him, including the one that got the licence fee over there, the BBC. Because for some reason or other, they don't think outside the box. They've all come up through the one system, indoctrination with I don't know what, but not an objective view of things, much like the media here, but a bit better than here. So Johnson has intimated that one way or another they'll be leaving on October the 31st. Now, there's apparently a certain amount of political upheaval in Britain at the moment because they're trying to nobble him. But I hope he succeeds, and I believe he will succeed. But the press here and the media, that they got everything wrong so far in regard to what we were talking about earlier. I'd say they have this wrong. And of course we're saddled with what I consider the worst Prime Minister the country ever had, which is Varadkar. We had bad ones because we had auction politics, as I was speaking about earlier, where they abolished car tax and rates and all the rest of it, and led to the problems that we have in the situation with big private lorries doing the refuse and the collection and all the rest of it. So with regard to so the media here, and Varadkar in particular, has adopted a hostile attitude towards the British, which is very counterproductive, because he hasn't got relatives that are immigrants, like what 1 million Irish people are in that country now, who have settled down there and whose children now are English and contributing very much to the society, as the Irish people did. Some of them fell by the wayside, and they're in humble circumstances there now, and I notice they're not being offered all this accommodation that people from other countries are being offered in this country. So whether they wouldn't look after their own first before they look after others. But however, this man hasn't got any relatives, so he's adopting this hostile attitude. Now, when all this is settled, we're living beside Britain, and that's the country that we need to be friendly with, because that's the country that has a lot of our food exports by way of own label and that. Now, it's the same as we're talking about the Anglo-Irish Free Trade Agreement and the EU and entering the EU. It has had negative effects. There's no point in money coming from the EU to farmers that heretofore grew things to be handing to set it aside. So this is the country we're living in with the EU, and there'll be a payback time for all this stuff given to us. And believe you me, we won't be having too many friends then, but at the moment we're being used by the EU to try and unsettle the British negotiation. Johnson has a very clear-cut idea about how to deal with it, and my view is that if it's possible for any civilised people in the EU and in Britain to reach a sensible agreement, which I presume they will reach, and hopefully by next month, that will sort of be mutually beneficial. And the business about this business of Northern Ireland, it shouldn't be that difficult to have a solution that will make sense, and I presume it will happen. But this crowd here is great proponents of what we call bad news. You used to say it sells. It only sells with them, it doesn't sell. You go down the street and you meet a yoke that's giving you bad news, you hop across the other side as quick as a flash.
That's right.
Because you're not going to have yourself be depressed.
Yeah.
You want to meet a jolly person, a positive person.
Yeah.
Now,
And what do you think of Boris Johnson while we're talking about it?
well, as I say, the man seems to know what he wants, and he's pragmatic, and he's well able to negotiate, I presume. He's getting a bad press, so when you get a bad press, the same as President Trump. Anybody that's good, as far as I can see, gets a bad press. Anybody that's useless gets a good press, like Varadkar.
So if you see them getting abused, you know that they have potential.
Well, that's what I think, and I think he should be able to get a negotiation, a proper settlement there. It's in their interest, and stop using this country as a kind of a battering ram. I mean, the North, as I described to you earlier, was a force of instability in this country, resulting in the loss of an awful lot of jobs, in my book, because of the instability that it created in the country. Don't forget, Charlie Haughey and some ministers were sacked and charged because they were trying to bring some succour to the minority in that part that was being persecuted by the majority unionists. They were being persecuted and turned out of their houses. So, I mean, there was trouble in that neck of the woods, as there has been for nearly since its inception. At the moment there's some kind of quietness, but there's still problems there. So here it is now interfering again in this situation. I think the Irish government would be better off to be friendly to the British government and to appear to be that way, and to stop. But this man, this Varadkar, who's Indian Irish thing, he wouldn't have that same instinct. And then I think because of his because of his personal life, he doesn't have the sort of what would you call it, fight that Irish people have, and the like of Charlie Haughey would have had, and the like of Albert Reynolds had, and politicians of that sort, not the one that's leading Fianna Fáil at the moment, that Martin individual. Hope he's defeated, because he's destroyed Fianna Fáil in my book. If they had been a proper opposition, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in at the moment. And likewise, Mary Lou McDonald, the leader of Sinn Féin, I hope that their policies is defeated.
So while we're talking about it, Renua aim to the Irish Freedom Party and things like that, do you think they'd make a better handle of
Well,
Brexit
I believe that they would, but they would certainly they're Irish people and Irish parties, and they're not contaminated with what this crowd has done, including this government and the opposition that supported them and has been supporting them for the last few years. I think kind of like the sort of, what would I call it, ineffectual people that they are, they're waiting for Brexit to be concluded, and then I suppose hope to be instability, and then they'll pounce. But that's no way to sort of run a country. When you see what these people have done, and with the support of these parties, Fianna Fáil, and the actual support, no debate. Well, I mean, that's irresponsible, and they don't deserve to ever have a shot at it. So I hope that independent parties like Renew, Aim 2, which is Panartone Beans, and the Irish Freedom Party, which is a comparative new party. They were called something else, Irish Exit, I think, but they didn't get permission before the last European election. They got it just afterwards, because naturally they didn't want them to have an official party, and that they could actually be obliged to get some support from the media, because they were independent. But as soon as that referendum, the European referendum, and it was the blasphemy and that as well, as soon as that was out of the way, then they got permission. So now they're a registered political party. So is Aim 2, so is Renew. Our small party, which is really negligible by comparison to the John Malone and our party, the Christian Jobs Action Party, we wouldn't be fielding candidates, but I'll be going myself in the Meath West constituency, and I certainly will be a voice for what I believe in, which is the promoting of Ireland as was and it should be, and jobs for Irish people, and not this business of jobs for everybody else except Irish.
Thank you very much, John.
Thank you very much, Oliver.